There's a quote by author John Steinbeck popular on the internet among leftists, in particular socialists and communists. Socialism never took root in America because the poor see themselves not as exploited proletariat, but as temporarily embarrassed millionaires. This quote is interesting because it simultaneously is right for the wrong reasons and wrong for the right reasons. Allow me to explain. The United States of America has over 20 million millionaires, the largest amount of people in any country in the world whose net worth exceeds $1 million. So there are actually a lot of millionaires in the US. In fact, it appears to be one of the best places on earth to become a millionaire. According to WealthX, 71.9% of ultra-high net worth individuals in the US are self-made, with a further 20.3% of them being partially self-made with some inheritance help, leaving only 7.7% becoming ultra-high net worth simply through inheritance. This means that the situation as described by leftists, that all millionaires are just the children of other rich people, is far rarer than the leftists would have us believe. That's not to say that rich people don't inherit wealth, or that there aren't plenty of people who do have fortunes that they themselves didn't work for, but why isn't that number higher? Surely if you make millions, you're going to want to leave that money to your progeny, and if the majority of millionaires are self-made, you would expect that that would naturally change as they age and die off, leaving their children with all that cash, right? Except there's another quote which used to be popular. Shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. This refers to the phenomenon that familial wealth is typically gone by the 3rd generation. That is to say that a particular family member will be massively successful and achieve great wealth, and then by the time their grandchildren are in charge, that wealth is virtually non-existent. This can be due to a number of factors, but typically is because of the lack of incentive. If you create wealth for yourself and your family through hard work and talent, you'll be capable of keeping it easily. Your children, on the other hand, who didn't have to work for it, are likely to squander it or simply have it deteriorate as they lack the same drive and skill that you attained in life, and their children, even further removed, have even less reason to look after the family fortune. As a result, there are many families in the US who are, in fact, former millionaires, old money at least 2 generations ago, looking to return to that state of grace, genuine, temporarily embarrassed millionaires. As I said, right for the wrong reason. Now for being wrong for the right reason. Socialism is actually hugely popular in America precisely because people see themselves as an exploited proletariat. The amount of government assistance continues to grow, as do demands for it in its many forms. From the cries for Medicare for all to the promises of universal basic income, socialist policies are more popular than ever due to the massive propaganda campaign from the left trying to convince those lower economic status individuals that they are the victims of capitalism, while simultaneously stripping the purchasing power of their currency through inflation, stealing their earnings through taxation, and preventing their economic ascent through regulation. This perverse and intentional imposed victim mentality, attempting to brainwash the masses into surrender to authoritarian government control, is hugely concerning, and due to people's reluctance to even discuss the problems with centralized power, it seems unlikely that it will go away anytime soon. However, despite this, despite the left's demoralization campaign, despite the government's ever-tightening grip, despite constant tax increases, inflationary spending, regulatory red tape, and the sacrificing of civil liberties and economic freedoms, the amount of millionaires continues to rise year on year, both as a number and as a percentage of the population. This is what capitalism does. It offers the ability to go from one economic strata to another through effort and brains. There have been, and are, and will continue to be, phenomenal amounts of opportunity for this kind of economic mobility, and further developments in technology and science generate yet more potential areas of growth. It is not therefore a case of Americans being temporarily embarrassed millionaires, but rather millionaires in waiting. They know and see that there is not just a chance that they might become that which they aspire towards, but that because of the relative economic freedom of the West, their chances of achieving this are directly related to their will, their drive, their talent, and their appetite for risk. Millionaires in waiting. I will leave you here with a story related to John Steinbeck, which might well be a useful illustration. Stalin, everyone's favourite mustachioed psychopathic mass murderer, once tried to use the movie version of John Steinbeck's novel The Grapes of Wrath as anti-capitalist propaganda against the US. It features a dirt-poor family struggling during the Great Depression. Stalin had it shown at cinemas in the Soviet Union to highlight how terrible life under capitalism was compared to communism. It didn't work, however. There was something that Stalin hadn't taken into account. When Russians gathered to watch the movie, they saw a poor family having to leave their home to try and make a living elsewhere, driving around in an automobile. Even the poorest families in the US had access to cars, something which was reserved only for the elite in Russia. All the movie served to do was point out that even being poor in the capitalist US of A was better than being in the communist USSR.